Card-carrying Antifa member and committed member of the Communist Party, also teacher in a small California community teaching kids about revolution, outed by Project Veritas. I'm Dr. Duke, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting kids' classrooms and college campuses around the world. Before we start, I want to take a soulful moment to invite any businesses out there, any owners of businesses that would like to support our program through advertising, to email us directly. The Dr. Duke Show reaches tens of thousands of like-minded people every day and could be a great partner to help promote your business. Simply email media@fpeusa.org. That's media@fpeusa.org to get the conversation started. All right, Katie is kicking it off with a rocking look at the health of this republic.
I'm pissed, I'm sad, I'm tired of it all, and I want answers about what happened in Afghanistan.
Mr. President, on Afghanistan.
I'm not going to answer Afghanistan now.
Can you say there's still an acute risk of the Air Force, sir?
Afghanistan. Okay? Can you please answer a question on Afghanistan? He's not going to answer questions about that because Joe Biden ain't got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Am I doing this again?
For the
senior staff. All right.
A number of the cabinet members have already.
My memory is not as good as Justice Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts. Does anyone?
Which brings us to today's question. What does Joe Biden have time for? If you have some time, please let me know in the comments and then share this video to show the world how much time our president apparently doesn't have. Also, stick around until the end of the video because I have something positive to share with you. I've taken the time to find a happy moment. And one more thing. Check out the other video this week that has my reaction to Biden's sad sack victory lap speech on, as he says, ending the war in Afghanistan. Now back to it. As we've seen over the past few weeks, the entirety of this presidency, Biden can't be bothered with such things as ensuring all Americans are able to evacuate Afghanistan.
Is the U.S. guaranteeing that you will be able to get out?
I don't think we can guarantee, but what we can do is work toward, and this is what the president directed the Secretary of State to continue diplomatic efforts with international partners to secure means for third country nationals, Afghans with visas who may be eligible for our programs, of course, any American citizen who remains in country to leave the country even after the U.S. military presence ends.
Don't you dare ever think that the president will do the will of the people.
Just 38% of Americans approve of Biden's handling of Afghanistan. 84% say U.S. troops should stay in Afghanistan until all Americans are evacuated. That's not going to happen.
And here's the interesting thing about that poll question, the second one you mentioned, 84%. It's consistent. It's one of the only things I have seen for years, a question where Democrats, Republicans, and independents, all over 80%, say exactly the same thing, that we should stay until all Americans are evacuated. As you point out, not going to happen.
You know why it's not going to happen?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
As Americans, we're all on the same page with this. In a book that is on a shelf in a library that is nowhere in the zip code that Joe Biden is living. But it's time we talk straight about Joe's level of respect for people who have died.
His mom lived in Long Island for 10 years or so. God rest her soul. And although your mom's still alive as your dad passed. God bless her soul. I got to get this straight.
That level of respect from 11 years ago has only diminished based on how he treated our Gold Star families and our deceased military members who were killed at the Kabul airport while trying to get people out of Afghanistan. When Biden went to Dover Air Force Base as part of the dignified transfer, he didn't have the time to pay attention. Why he had any media there in the first place is unknown, but it's probably because the media defends his actions. The Washington Post wants you to know that Biden watches. The same Washington Post then tells Americans, or just their readers, their people, the Democrats, to just calm down because the Biden presidency won't end over this. So take a chill pill, dude. Democrats, just carry on with the leftist agenda. The opinion writer Matt Bay wrote, "But is this really going to derail President Biden's entire agenda? Probably not. And it's all because his name is not Donald Trump. If Donald Trump did anything remotely like looking at his watch while he should be there giving condolences to service members' families who sacrificed their lives for him to be the leader of this country, media brains would have broken and it would be nonstop claptrap. But Joe Biden is not Donald Trump. And it was that watch that actually made it so Joe Biden became president. Clearly, the watch is why he needed to be elected. It is the perfect foil to Trump, according to GQ. That sums it up. Matt Bay is probably right. For Biden, there is no consequence. No worry. No care in the world for the very real cost of human loss. Human loss that will only increase because Biden didn't have time to get the equipment out of Afghanistan before he up and tried to run away.
President Biden trips, not once, not twice, but 3 times as he tries to climb the stairs to Air Force One today.
The war chest left behind for the Taliban to kill hundreds and thousands of innocent men, women, and children is valued at just around $85 billion, with plenty of guns, especially those dangerous assault rifles, trucks, helicopters, and planes. Biden could have allowed the military to get all of this out, but
ain't nobody got time for that.
That's why you have Taliban openly mocking the West by flying our Black Hawk helicopters while dead bodies are hanging from them. Now, I'm not going to show you the gruesome video, but you can find it for yourself. I'll show this one instead to reassure you that the Taliban is civil, humanitarian, and not at all holding hostage any people. That's totally normal. The Taliban is just holding the guns immediately behind that man on TV. And that man is reassuring the Afghan people to not be afraid because the Taliban is civil and humanitarian. That's reassuring. The same person reporting from BBC with that video also reported that the head of security for Al-Qaeda is now in Nangarhar in Afghanistan, and he got a hero's welcome. Also reassuring. Just remember there was no time, and the Taliban wanted to take Kabul, the capital, as soon as possible. Except that's not what happened. According to the Washington Post, a Taliban official offered the United States to control Kabul. But Biden just wanted to get everyone out and knew only the airport was needed. So the U.S. got the airport until August 31st, and the Taliban controlled Kabul. In other words, for Biden to direct orders to keep a hold on the capital, it just
ain't nobody got time for that.
We are going to do one more because I'm running out of time, but not as quickly as Joe Biden is.
Thank you, Mr. President. I look forward to working with you now and for many years forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and you give me credit, much of which should go to Barack Obama.
Obama. I wasn't sleeping. We are right now at a time between the final evacuation of American presence in Afghanistan and the 20th anniversary of September 11th. Only time will tell how the next week will unfold. As promised at the beginning, I'm going to end on this note because we need something positive. It should make you want to share this video.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Until next time, stay healthy, America.
Time now for Culture Cast with Vicki McKenna. Vicki, good to see you this week.
Great to see you, Duke.
Well, school's starting all around the country, and what you and I said so many times is happening. People are in. You think this summer was bad with all the protests in the public schools. Now that moms and dads are seeing what's actually going on in the classroom, it's about to explode. I don't know what the explosion's going to do, but it's about to explode. And we got this classic example here. We've got Gabriel Gipe, or Jipe, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. He is a full-on Antifa member. He is a full-on communist supporter. He's also a teacher in a relatively rural California school. And he was outed by Project Veritas, James O'Keefe's organization, for the radical he is. It almost beggars description. So I'm going to play the video where you can find out all what Mr. Gipe was up to in his classroom.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
scare the out of them? Yeah. Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So like, yeah, when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would he go to connect to some of these organizations?
I post a calendar every week. Awesome. And then so and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. So that encourages them to do it. And I've had students show up for protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection. That's their extra credit. I have an Antifa flag on my wall, and a student complained about that. And you said it made him feel uncomfortable. Well, this is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable, so if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to.
So,
that's so stunning. It's just the values that are antithetical to Antifa, so not being in favor of burning buildings and beating people with chains and hitting people over the head with skateboards and trying to shoot people. I know that's, it's a serious fascist that would object to that.
It is amazing. He holds a little kid complains, not even necessarily complaining because he sides with the other side. He's a right winger, just saying it's offensive. And the response of the teacher literally is, then don't be a fascist, right? And there's his classroom
and don't
wall.
Disagree with me. It's basically agree with me and you will feel less uncomfortable.
And the activism, the only way you get extra credit in this class is if you're engaging in far left-wing activism. Well,
violent activism. Promoting or participating in Antifa is violent activism.
Yep.
So that is what he's got his kids doing. So the update on this is that the district fired him. So, Project Veritas, James O'Keefe does a secret video investigation and parents went bananas. There is some video online now of a school board meeting where parents just lost their minds about this on the school board, and the administration fired the teacher. Okay, the administration had to have seen the Antifa flag hanging in his classroom. They had to know because they employed him what his values were. He walks around in a hammer and sickle. He's got an Antifa flag. He's got an overtly political class. They knew what was going on and did nothing until they were shamed by James O'Keefe and Project Veritas, who had to run a hidden video investigation to expose this idiot, this vile, dangerous idiot, and the administration, shame the administration into compliance. God bless Project Veritas, but this is a story that's probably being repeated in multiple classrooms in school districts around the country, and nobody knows about it except administrators, fellow teachers, and students who are too afraid to speak.
Not only that, he had a picture of Chairman Mao in his classroom, which
he used stamps. He had rubber stamps with Mao and Stalin and the great anti-fascist Duke. The communist dictators and the tyrants, and he also had Fidel Castro. But this guy is against fascism.
Yeah, and you said it. This is one extremist that got bumped, and what we've been saying for years. This has been out of control now, and I think we're finally seeing with the COVID break the final transformation from the American public school system we used to know, one that at least tried to prioritize reading, writing, and math, to a system now where all of those things are subordinated to ideology. Math doesn't
100%.
matter. We had that Los Angeles school board member who said, I don't care. We don't care if your kids can't read and if they don't know their multiplication tables. They now know the meaning of the word insurrection. They now know the meaning of the word coup. If your babies can't do math and spell, we've trained them to be political warriors. And no irony there whatsoever.
So I'm just going to throw this out there again. Why would any parent ever continue to expose their children to not education, but indoctrination? Furthermore, I will go even further. I mean, it seems completely obvious to take your children out of these environments. But furthermore, why aren't you actually protesting the amount of money that goes into these environments? And I know that it's a slow dawning on parents, and not every parent has even figured this out on their own yet, but enough have. The ones who are descending on school board meetings, and good for them, you should always do that. But you should also be strategizing, whether it be financially or logistically, how you can get your kid out of that environment and either into a private school, a homeschool situation, or something that actually values knowledge, wisdom, and education, because it's clear K-12 doesn't. K-12 is about political indoctrination, the indoctrination into the world of sexual politics. It is about political indoctrination. It is about ideology. It's not about math. It's not about science. Science has become scientism. It's not even real any longer in the public schools. Get your kids out now. And if you've got to spend some time figuring out how to shore up your finances, then do that now.
Vicki, after the break, let's talk about that a little bit more, and let's look at the response of this teacher when he gets fired. Hint, whenever these fascists get fired, they go running and screaming to the Constitution. They want their rights. It's amazing.
Funny how that works, huh?
After the break, we'll pick it up. Back again with the second part of Culture Cast for this week with Vicki McKenna. And we're talking about Gabriel Geip. And while it's a little bit of schadenfreude for a beat-down mom and pop across the country with regards to public education, this is the low-hanging fruit. I mean, the roots of this plague go all the way to the very core of what's going on in education. And one of the things that troubles me the most, Vicki, and it really does, is for the first time in really overt ways, you're seeing the federal government of the United States supporting people like Geip at the expense of moms. I'll give you an example. We have the federal government, the Department of Education, Secretary Cardona, is actually giving money, what used to be COVID relief money, that was handed over to him by the Biden administration. He's now taking that money and he's rewarding schools in Florida who stand up to the Florida mask mandate.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Which is illegal. Him doing that is illegal, to try to essentially, shore up the political resistance of school districts that his own political ideology aligns with. At least we know that that the state of Florida has got a government with a governor with a spine, so that's not likely to stand unchallenged. But yeah, people have to understand. You're exactly right with the phrase "low-hanging fruit." This guy was obvious. I mean, he was a screaming neon sign that said, "Look at me, look at me." And finally, someone looked at him. Most teachers and administrators are far more subtle. Not long ago, we talked about Lodi schools. The Lodi School Board realized that critical race theory, whatever name it goes by, was the way education was being framed in Lodi schools. Lodi, Wisconsin, go look it up. We're not talking about a bastion of Antifa and left-wing activism here. And the school board shrugged their shoulders and said, gee, shouldn't you have maybe said something to us? Oh, it's okay. And let's go back years and years to 2015 when Minneapolis schools adopted CRT. In the Madison schools, when functionally that was the lens through which education was going to be delivered. So this has been going on. This has been coming on the system for a long time. I'll remind everybody, it was 2006 in a speech to Hugo Chavez where Barack Obama's biographer, Bill Ayers, who was never fired from his position as a professor of education, said, "The motor of revolution begins in the schools." He was serious. He was 100% correct as well, and nobody paid attention to him, even though he was pretty much flying a flag on it.
Before we go, we would be remiss if we did not take a look at Mr. Gabriel Geip after he was outed. Isn't it interesting how when these fascists find themselves in trouble, they always revert to the protections, or they try to revert to the protections guaranteed by the Constitution. Take a look at look at how much smaller and weenier he looks when you get a chance to see him in public walking around.
Say thank you to every past student and colleague and friend who's reaching out right now in support of what is happening. My personal safety and security is obviously my top concern at this moment, but also like they are coming for my job and what I love doing in the classroom, and they are going to run this campaign and get public pressure behind them, and it is very likely that the district will cave in regards to this, and I'm hopeful that they don't, and all support at this moment is greatly appreciated.
My health and welfare are under assault. You think so? I mean, you are engaging in treason against the United States of America. I know we only apply that to Trump supporters, but this is much worse than anything that happened on January 6th. He is
advocating for the destruction of the foundation of the United States government, an obliteration of the Constitution, an absolute upending of our government, our system, our rights, our economy. And the way that he advocates doing it and gets his students to do it is by throwing Molotov cocktails and swinging chains and beating people with baseball bats and skateboards. But he's really worried for his health and his welfare. And he really hopes that, the district doesn't cave. You know what? And again, low-hanging fruit. And this guy was a screaming siren on what is going on. Parents, your job, again, get your kids out of these environments and start being the investigative reporters like you see at Project Veritas, and expose this widely, or nothing will change. And we will be continuing to fund this to the tune of trillions of dollars. We are spending trillions of dollars to allow leftists who loathe this country to destroy it and harness our children into service of the destruction. Stop letting it happen.
It's time now for some real education. Marc Chagall Week continues our last day. Born in 1887 and dying not until 1985, 98 years old. What a great career, what a great life for Marc Chagall. When you think of color in the 20th century, when you think of innovation, when you think of Jewish artists in the 20th century, I mean, there's almost nobody bigger than Marc Chagall. His reputation and his work is really stunningly popular and important. And yet still, having said all that, compared to some other 20th century figures like Picasso, of course, and some of the surrealists, Dali, even somebody like a low-hanging fruit like Warhol, Chagall isn't as well known to the American people as some of those other artists. So we spend some time today on his genius, and I want to talk to you today about his windows, the windows that he made for the United Nations, these beautiful stained glass. We've been looking at his paintings, but you look at this, just how he uses color is, again, really stunning. So what happened is that in 1963, following the death of Dag Hammarskjöld at the UN, the staff of the United Nations set up a committee and a foundation to provide, quote, a living memorial, unquote, to the late Secretary General. And the headquarters of the foundation were established in Stockholm, Sweden, where Dag Hammarskjöld is from. The committee invited artist Marc Chagall to contribute a piece of his work to the memory of Hammarskjöld and of all those who had lost their lives in the cause of peace. It was decided that the monument would be a freestanding piece of stained glass, and you're looking at it right now. On his first visit to the United Nations in '63, Chagall dedicated the memorial and gave a couple of lectures. This panel was unveiled finally by the Secretary General Jutant on 17 September 1964. Initially placed in the southeastern section of the lobby of the Secretariat building, facing the East River, the Chagall window was later moved to the eastern side of the public lobby. The memorial, which is about 15 feet wide and 12 feet high, contains several symbols of peace and love, such as the young child in the center being kissed by an angelic face, which emerges from a mass of beautiful flowers. On the left and below and above, motherhood and the people who are struggling for peace are depicted. Musical symbols in the panel evoke thoughts of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which was a favorite of Mr. Hammarskjöld's. And so you can see floating in the beautiful cobalt ether in this beautiful stained glass, you can see many of the signs and symbols of hope and love and peace, which ironically the United Nations proved completely incapable of providing. All this goodwill and all this love and peace, all this artistic and literary culture that the UN committed to, so much talk, so much empty blather, to the point today where you ought to break up the United States building in Washington because the only thing of value there left anymore is that window. Thank you, Mark Chagall. All right, just a quick reminder that the very best way to access our content is to download our Freedom Project Media app. Simply search Freedom Project in your app store and get it for free. Access to 18 new videos every week. 18, plus all of our award-winning lectures. Now, we want to take a moment to show you some love to our Patriot Club members, as we always do. Today, we'd like to give a shout-out to Alex from Nacogdoches, Texas. That's a country music song right there. Alex from Nacogdoches. Thanks for supporting us. And that's going to do it for this show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, stay educated, Tex.